Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the July 15th meeting of the Kingston Board of Selectmen. Would you rise and join me in the salute the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let me introduce the board to you. To my far left is Laurie Sweat, board member, Glenn Koppelman, board member and vice chair. To my immediate right is Peter Bakey, board member, and Susan Eyre, administrative assistant. Not present tonight is Chuck Hart, who took the opportunity to take a vacation. Good for him. And so we'll start with our first appointment of the evening, Mrs. Bakey, and Chief Johnson regarding the resident parking permitting. Good evening.
We just became aware of this policy and we have some questions with it,
So apparently there was a policy for parking, but it's really not, from what I saw, it wasn't really defined. Defined as far as the locations of parking, where it's prohibited. It's very vague. And I know we have some places around town, but I think they need to be spelled out exactly where the parking violations could be happening, like the boat launch, the new parking down across the state park, etc. So I guess we want to kind of modify the policy and make it more up to date in all the different locations.
also it says that they should be changed annually, and like I said, we didn't know this, so we haven't done that. And so we need to educate the public too that your decal that you're buying or your sticker that you're buying is only good for a year. So, and the police didn't know, so they haven't been saying anything that people are using that same sticker for the last couple of years. Oh.
You want to share with me? Okay.
So on that policy, it does, so you're saying it says area of the plains across from State Park, in front of the boat launch, and then town parking for Greenwood. So you're saying there's more areas than that?
Well, there's the library now. They don't want you parking in the library. I know down at the Kingston Plaza, they don't. Can I talk about it?
Yeah.
Sure. The Carriagetown Plaza, there's some no parking, no overnight parking. The library, like I said, across the state park, the boat launches. There are some properties along the lake, I believe, where there's parking signs, but I don't know if they're put up by the town or the residents. So we're gonna need somebody to give us a little guidance on where you want us to enforce this.
Are those for resident parking, the signs you're seeing, or just no parking?
Do it.
Are the signs that you're seeing in other places, are they no parking signs or resident parking only?
No parking. There is some no overnight parking. So I don't know which ones are the towns
Because
or which ones are the civilians.
That's good to follow up, but this policy was strictly for the resident parking only that they wanted to put in place. So that's why it's only these areas.
Right, so we have the resident parking. Tammy's gonna go ahead and investigate or purchase town stickers for vehicles for residents, for resident parking only.
For the boat area, right?
For, like, Kingston has its own resident boat launch down across from 27 Main Street. Okay, so people that are pulling trailers in sometimes use their friend from Kingston's key to get in to launch their boat. Do we want that to be happening? We don't. then we need to put stickers on the vehicles for them to, for my officers to notice, saying, okay, this doesn't have a Kingston resident sticker on it, therefore it's in violation. And run the plate, see if it is a Kingston resident. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
Make sense?
And it also says that there's a fine of $50, and Joel doesn't even have parking tickets.
Right, these parking tickets gonna be for the town, it's not gonna, so any fines are gonna be, that people receive are gonna have to pay the town, not the state. And that can be kind of tricky in itself, I mean,
Do we want to get into this for real?
I can see the boat ramp, I can see the state park, we have issues there, and I can see the library, but I don't see Town Plaza, it's privately owned property.
well, that's been that's been in business for over 20 years. Like the stop signs, normally, if a business has a stop sign, and somebody runs that stop sign, the business hasn't been there for over 20 years, you can't enforce it, but after 20 years, it's enforceable. Like, for
Stop
instance,
sign at the
the
exit.
Shell station, they have a stop sign, but they've been in business for over 20 years, therefore it's enforceable.
So a private property that's been in there for, a private property that's been there
Open
for
to the
20,
public.
that's a private property though.
Yeah.
That's open to the public for more than 20 years, you can enforce the laws.
That is my understanding,
Anything.
that's what I've checked, yes. Now, like Ash Drive is not a town-accepted road, but there's a stop sign on Ash Drive coming onto New Boston Road. So I can't enforce that,
Has it been there for 20 years?
since it hasn't been there that long.
So, sorry, go ahead.
I think you're getting into more issues of the actual parking ordinance, the parking regulations. Because I remember when we started this, Chief Briggs was there, and he said we already have parking regulations, and all they did to that was add a
Well,
paragraph.
is this what you guys have?
No, but we have an ordinance, there's also an ordinance. And then this is the policy. So the policy is the town resident parking policy dated 8/3/2020. But there's also Article 1005, which is parking regulations.
And that would be under the town?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's a parking, yes,
What is this?
This is just for those stickers
right.
here.
Okay, all right,
This is
all right.
just for resident parking only, the
There's a-
policy.
Yeah, there's a regulation 1005, which is parking regulations for the town, a section of which refers to resident parking.
Right.
And then there's a policy that is for the resident parking.
Right. But neither one of us were,
Right.
since 2020, were made aware of this policy.
Right.
But you were
So we haven't
selling
been
the-
doing our jobs, is what
So,
I'm saying.
Guilty.
but what you want something that is a little bit more robust than just those, you want something for overnight
Well,
parking?
wherever we have no parking signs, like we put up in front of the boat launch by, just before the draft house, okay, those weren't accepted by the town, but they were put up to prevent people from parking on the road, because that's what was happening 2 years ago. So those need to be named as a no parking zone by the order of the town. Same with the library. You guys are gonna have to approve that before I can enforce anything and make it a town.
You'd have to issue parking tickets, right? And is this money that goes to the county again?
No,
I
this
mean,
would, the parking enforcement would actually go to the town. Any of the fines, okay? And I talked to our prosecutor about it. She said that we would write the ticket, parking ticket, put it on the car. They have so many days to pay it. If they don't, we send them a letter, a warning, saying, you know, this is what you're overdue, so therefore there's a percentage increase. And if they continue not to pay it, then we send it to the state, and they can suspend the license. Give them a warning or something to that effect, is my understanding. So I think it's gonna open up a can of worms, but
well, I was gonna say, is it worth it?
personally, I don't think it is. But I mean, we do have to enforce it to a degree. I don't wanna, we got enough to do. you know, as far as writing tickets, we're very busy. And I'm not saying I won't do it, but there are some times it's so blatant that people shouldn't park in certain areas, especially when they're parked in front of a sign.
So I'm just reading the ordinance, because I didn't know about this either, right? And one of the things in section 1005.3, it says there's a $50 fine in any posted area of town property. So there's probably, there's a whole host of things here where you can fine somebody if they park there, so that's what you're talking about, really, is if there's a posted sign for no parking.
Correct.
So we should probably look and see if it's in this ordinance first before, and if it is, then we don't have to do anything for that part.
Okay, so who approves the parking spots, the parking, no parking?
Who's
Who
what?
approves the where you can and can't park in the town of Kingston?
Well, the one that came for across from the state park came from Public Works, was Rich St. Hilaire.
Okay, so I should probably.
And he brought that to us and we approved it.
Okay, so I should probably sit down with Phil and we should put a list together of where the town doesn't want
Correct.
people parking.
Correct.
And resident parking only type of situations.
So, are you, I realize the not knowing part, I understand that, but are you now asking that the policy that was, for resident parking that was adopted in 2020 has 3 specific areas designated for resident parking? Are you asking to add to that?
If you would like to, now's the time, is what I guess we're getting at.
Yeah, you need to define, you need to come back to us and define that, exactly what you want.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's would be the best.
This all stemmed from these resident parking stickers.
Right, right.
So then, you know, Tammy and I decided, well, let's get it all done at the same time.
And I'll draft up the thing and work with you guys to see what you want to say. And I mean, you know, I'll just send you the draft and type in whatever you want. But so what you guys are proposing is right now you pay the $2, and so we're going to get stickers that expire every year?
Well, that, according to this.
Well, we don't have to. We don't have to. If we're rewriting it and
Yeah.
updating it, then we don't have to do that. Because that's, you know, people will view that, that's just another $2 I have to pay, where, you know what I mean? And it's only $2, but
Kinda like
still.
the tickets.
But it's a cost for us to get new stickers every year.
Correct.
And, you know, how are you gonna gauge how many we need? You know, there's like that whole, right? So, yeah, good times.
Go ahead.
I don't know that I like this, to be very honest with you.
You didn't know what?
I don't know that I like parking tickets in Kingston.
But you, well, someone signed
Right,
this that said.
someone started it.
I know.
We're just trying to make it right.
I
But
know.
If we're gonna enforce it, we have the right.
It actually worked off the regulation, which already has all these fines in
Yeah.
place.
Right.
And they used the same amount that was specified in the regulation.
Can't ignore the ordinance that's there,
Well,
so.
this isn't about writing
Well, we've
Kingston
been-
residents.
we've
This is
been
people
ignoring
from
the
out of
ordinance.
state,
Is there
from out of town,
Right,
that are
right,
parking
right.
in places they shouldn't be parking.
Exactly,
And
right,
educating the people that are not in town.
Right.
More, you know, more than the town residents. We're not going after town residents. We're trying to free up places for the town residents, such as in front of the state park, things like that.
And that's what that was for.
Yeah.
On the motor vehicle schedule, isn't there a parking violation?
What's that?
In the New Hampshire motor vehicle schedule on your actual fine schedule, isn't there a violation for parking?
I believe there is.
So why can't we just use that versus to the town?
We very well could.
That way, if somebody is blatant, not a town resident, and they're in one of these places, you have an avenue to write them a ticket.
Let me confirm that, and that's, you know, if that's a route you want to
I
go.
mean, I'm sure there's town ones, like Rye has one like you showed us, I know Stratham had one, I know the town has their own things, but I think, as far as motor vehicle, I believe if they have a fine schedule that's existing, there's an avenue right there to write that summons.
Well,
That we don't have to get parking tickets and stickers for windows and the cost of all that stuff, in addition to that. If it's an avenue to, obviously, you're violating a sign, and you're
So
blatant.
this will just require a little more research,
Yeah.
which I don't have a problem with. Again, I gave you a sample of the different types of violation parking tickets. If you want to just look at them at some point and just kind of get an idea of what you want us to enforce,
Right, I guess,
above and beyond what's on the state parking ticket.
yeah. You obviously need more stickers because we have had more requests for them. So you gotta get more stickers, and I don't see any reason not to extend the life of the stickers. I mean, it's not a money-making proposition by any stretch of the meaning. But I don't wanna get into wholesale writing of tickets for every, I don't wanna do that. Major frequent flyers, as Phil used to call them, that's
This
a
would
different
probably
ballgame.
discourage people, like, 4th of July in front of the state park that wraps all the way around.
Right.
Rock Rimmon Road at 4 in the morning.
Right,
You know, once we got out there and started scattering, and that would be nice.
and we may not even really wanna do that either.
No,
I
we had a
mean,
good year this year, because we opened the gate at 6:30 in the morning, so we were able to avoid that this year. But I don't know what's gonna happen next year if somebody else is in charge of the state park. That, Emily was very cooperative this year, which was great, and it worked out perfect. But I don't know who's gonna be in charge next year. You know, and I get a lot of complaints about 4 in the morning, people sitting out on people's front lawns, playing music, waiting at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, waiting for it to open at 8 o'clock,
Yeah,
you know? So,
So am I correct that you do want to have the resident parking at those locations, and they are renewable every year, and we just have to figure out if they're gonna get a ticket, if they don't have the correct year, and how that's gonna work?
well,
Well, unless we change the policy, that's the way it is. I mean, that's what's.
But it's not the way it's gonna be until next year, because
But
we don't-
this policy exists now.
I know, but we just found out about it last
Yeah,
week.
understood.
So it can't happen till next year, because we have to educate the public, I have to get the stickers, and Joel's gonna find a way to give him a ticket, because he doesn't have any tickets.
Or we don't make them renewable, and you buy a ticket, you buy a $2 decal and done, one and done. That's another
Doesn't matter
option. That's what we've been doing, right?
yeah. No, they've been doing them every year. One and
No,
done.
they haven't.
No.
No.
Because I didn't know they were renewable.
we had the stickers, but they were never.
And they don't have an expiration on
oh.
them. They don't have an expiration.
And they weren't looking for a different year or a different color, so.
Yeah.
All right, so one and done.
But the key does change. The
Key
boat launch key
changes.
does change every year, so that would be a good time, if we're gonna do it, to wait till next year, when we start selling new boat keys, to sell new parking tickets at the
Stickers.
same, parking stickers at the same time.
Is it just boat people that buy the parking skip?
Most of the time. Once in a while, there's someone that wants one to park at the rec center to go to the beach, but
Okay.
usually it's boat people.
Okay,
Or the Kingston State Park, when they want to park there to walk their dog.
okay. So it makes sense to actually have a policy in place for next year, because we're halfway through the summer now. Get 6 weeks
Exactly.
left.
Yeah.
And I know Melissa at the library wants to put up parking signs, no overnight parking.
I think you can still do that, and then you can talk to Phil about that, getting those signs over there. I don't see any reason
I
not
did
to.
direct her to Phil, but I don't know if the signs are up yet. If there's no signs, then we really can't enforce it.
We can't enforce what we don't know about
Right,
anyway, so
right.
might as well put up the signs now and get it over with.
All right, so let's just it's a good meeting,
Okay, does that make sense?
educate us, yeah? Let's move on.
Okay?
Okay, I think we're all on the same page here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we're gonna change that so that it doesn't change every year.
So I'm gonna take this existing policy, put it in the new format, send it to Tammy and Joel. They can make whatever recommendations they want or leave it as is, and it's just gonna go through the process. So if we wanna keep it at renewable, even though we haven't been doing it, that's beside the point. Or you buy a sticker and you're done. That'll just be for discussion. So right now, you'll get this to be able to do your recommendations if you wanna add another area or whatever the case is, and then we'll, this is good.
One and done now? If we're gonna set it up, it makes sense. I can't see,
Yeah, I mean, I don't
but
think
they
we
have to
should
come
do it
in for a key.
renewable.
The keys have to be renewable every year, no matter what. All right, let's wait and talk
Yeah,
about it.
yep.
Yeah, let's
I
wait and talk
I
about
would
it.
suggest that if we're gonna make changes to the policy, that we put it on an agenda and we do it at a public
Yeah,
hearing.
I agree. Thanks, Tim, thanks, Joel. Okay, item next. This is Jeff Flanders proposal to talk about the posting.
Okay, so, so the museum is very excited that we move it closer. Okay, the museum is excited that, there we go, that we have been charged with being the host sponsor of the Boston Post cane. So we've come up with a nomination form. So to qualify as a Boston Post cane holder, one must be at least 90 years young, be a physical resident of Kingston or residing in a retirement facility in an abutting bordering town, have resided in Kingston for at least the past 25 years. Then there's nominee information, and then the person making the nomination. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, item 2 looks like a contradiction. Be a physical resident of Kingston or residing in a retirement facility in an abutting town.
So what we're saying is, if there's someone that is invalid, needs to go to, say, the county facility for
Yeah.
a time period, needs to go to Poplar for a time period, that we're not going to exclude them, because
Because technically, they've lived in Kingston for 25 years
Right.
anyways. Okay, okay. Thank you.
oh, thanks for the question.
What if they've moved to a facility like that and it was not temporary?
Okay, I think then we would have to evaluate it, because the most likely would be someone else that has lived here and are still residing here that we would choose instead of them.
Okay.
It was a good conversation that we had coming up with that part, because, you know, some people can't stay in their home for a period of time, but it shouldn't preclude them from being, you know, have that honor. So, you know, it's really tough to kind of figure that out.
Yeah, parsing that is kind of tough.
Right.
You know, if it was for a temporary move, I think that's fine. If it was a permanent move, that might be a different story.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. So this is an annual kind of thing?
Well, on the other thing, the criteria for selection, so the determination of the town's oldest resident shall be determined through a list generated by the town clerk's office, which Tammy gave us one about 6 weeks, 2 months ago. To be selected, a resident must be a current resident and have lived in Kingston for a minimum of previous 25 years. Again, residents that are or have been residing in a nursing home, retirement facility, in a abutting, bordering town are eligible. Then a certificate noting that the resident is the oldest resident of Kingston, therefore shall be awarded a certificate as the Boston Post cane honoree at a convenient location for the recipient in Kingston or at a nearby nursing home retirement facility. The museum committee will make arrangements with the honoree. An actual town replica cane shall be displayed in the town hall, which I'm assuming it's still downstairs.
Which we currently have.
Right, with a plaque with the previous honoree's names on the plaque, and said plaque to be updated whenever a holder of the cane honoree resident is so honored. So it's going to be up to us as the museum committee to monitor this.
Right.
Is this person still alive? You know, check in with Tammy, No, check in with where they're living.
Because once they're named the holder of the post cane,
They
then
hold
they
it.
hold it until they pass on
Right.
or move to California,
Exactly.
or something like that.
Or they're not in a bordering town, they're 2 towns away or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's subjective, but chances are, if there's someone that live, yeah, I get it.
Right.
So I guess when I said the word annual, I guess, would the committee review it annually, just to kind of check on it and see the status
Yes.
of it, and?
Yes,
Okay,
right, because we do need to keep tabs of it, because I'm sure that's what happened to the original cane, which happened in many communities. Very few communities have it, because people died and people forgot about, oh yeah, we're supposed to get the cane back, and by the time you think of it, the families moved, and who knows who got the cane and what happened to the cane. So you do have to be due diligent and
so the cane stays here,
correct.
The person's name goes on a plaque,
Plaque,
and the person gets a certificate or something?
Right.
Okay, just to show that they've,
right.
yep, okay.
So you know how fantastic Walt Roy is. Walt is going to be doing our certificate.
Oh, great.
And you know how we did that one for the donors for the windows. I mean, that man is extraordinaire.
Well, I think it's really great that the museum committee has agreed to do this task. I mean, it's something
thank you.
it's something that fell by the wayside, and
Again, we were thrilled that you asked us, so thank you.
and somebody needed to kind of pick up the mantle, and I think it's really appropriate that the museum committee does it, and I'm glad that they're willing to do it.
When do you expect to do the first one?
I would say August, next month,
Okay,
because we want to get the ball rolling.
yeah, absolutely.
Like Ernie had a letter to him, I'm going to say like 2 months ago, from some woman that lived in Salem saying her mother was celebrating her 90th birthday. Do we do a Boston Post cane? She wanted her mother to have a cane. And so Ernie forwarded it to me, and I was like, said to the woman, oh, wish your mother happy birthday. Fortunately, in our town, we have many people that are much older than 90. Like Lillian Henshaw was our oldest person, and she died a few months ago, and she was 102, 103.
Yep.
Yeah. Right, right.
Great. Thanks.
So,
I think it's well done, I mean, unless we won't know if there are glitches until we try it out.
Right, I think we should, I think if we're ready to do this, we ought to accept this process and this form. And if, we should do it by motion, and as you start to use it, if it needs to be modified, it gets modified.
okay.
We won't know until we start. We won't know.
Right.
So I will move that that we accept the nomination form and process as presented tonight by Jeff on behalf of the museum committee for the Boston Post cane nomination. Aye.
Great job, Jeff, thank you.
I can't resist. If I happen to be one of those people, I would like to opt out. I don't want my name on any, I know how old I am, and I know how old I'll be, and I don't need my name on any plaque. So hopefully there'll be an opt-out provision as well, so that people that don't want to be involved with it don't have to get publicity that they're the oldest person in town.
If so nominated, you do not have to accept.
Oh, all right, thank you, I'll accept that.
But I do know you've got a ways to go before you hit 90.
A little ways.
Yeah, you're not there yet.
Okay. Name is Paul Murphy. I'm the treasurer for the Kingston's Veterans Club, and I'm here to support and offer any questions and perhaps add any more information concerning our reinstatement for exemption from the Kingston real estate tax. I notice it says under your old business, So I'm frankly not sure if I should address it to you now, or should I wait, or how would you like to proceed?
I'm going to recuse myself from this conversation. I'm a member of the Veterans Club.
So,
We can either wait and have it on the agenda or let Murphy speak. Might as well go now.
I think
Okay.
it's appropriate now under public comment, because once we start doing our business, we typically don't accept comments, public comments, so if you have something for us, probably now is the time.
Certainly, certainly. Okay, so essentially what happened is that a couple of months ago, we received a letter from you folks saying that our real estate exemption was removed or rescinded. It came as a surprise to us as new officers, since we were just elected in 2022. And it apparently, as an administrative procedure where a nonprofit is supposed to submit various annual forms, we did not. And because of that, and we hadn't done it in over 5 years, it was the reason under the various rules and cases that were outlined in the letter that you rescinded it. So upon receiving that information, I called up the assessor and I said, okay, what do we have to do, because this is all news to us? She told me to submit the forms, which I have, and I believe you have them now for your review, and as well as a letter that I submitted basically stating why, which is that we didn't know. I know that's not a good enough reason, but at the time it's because our predecessors didn't inform us about it, so we just assumed it because the club has been in existence since 1946, supporting the community. So I think I looked at some other things, and even though, say for instance, like with the national organizations that are recognized by the U.S. Congress and are tax exempt, like the American Legion and Veterans of Foreign Wars, at least the Kingston Veterans Club is also it's the same as in spirit, if not more so, because it's part of the community, and we, as you probably know and have heard, because we're just down the street, have participated in a lot of things. And most important, recently, I guess, is Memorial Day and the festivities that happen there with the parade, but also with the scholarships we help out, charity events, and other civic activities that help at least contribute to the community of Kingston and the surrounding area. So I kind of wanted to present that, and just so you don't have just the forms and what the assessor is saying based on finances, but actually what the Kingston Veterans Club has done for, 80 years now or so, and continues to do so. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Unless you have any more questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
I can start by telling you that it's going to be the death of me tonight. We became aware of the issue almost at the same time you did, maybe a little bit before. And we changed assessing companies this year. And they're the ones that brought this to light. It wasn't just the Vets Club. There are a number of organizations that by statute don't qualify. We know the Vets Club does a lot for the town and is very much an integral part of the community. But paperwork needs to be filed according to the RSAs as to what determines a nonprofit. If those papers have gone in, I have no idea yet. As yet, we haven't heard back from the assessing firm if there's been a change, an update, or whatever. But I know that many communities do. It's what they do. Unless you meet the qualifications to the RSAs, even though you're an organization that is of great benefit to the community, you're still liable for property tax. So the issue is not closed yet. I guess that I also want to reiterate that.
So I'm wondering if it would be worth reading at least part of the determination that our assessor came up with, and I don't know if you've had a chance to see this?
No, I haven't. Like I said, I've worked with him, and just to, if I might comment on yours, totally agree. That's why we will put into place now, since I'm the treasurer and I know about it, that we will submit the reports before April 15th. And we did pay our property taxes so that we'll pay that. And then what we're trying to do is, of course, is get reinstated so that we have our tax exemption that apparently we had for years back. But if you'd like to read that, what the assessor has to say, I'd be curious to know.
So I don't think it's necessary to read the whole thing because some of it is just background, but this is from our assessor, Corcoran Consulting Associates. It's dated June 28, so a couple of weeks back. It says the Kingston Veterans Club is a 501c19 organization which does not qualify based on RSA 72:23A, which means it is not a veterans organization incorporated by act of Congress, so forth and so on. The applicant states that their general purpose is a nonprofit organization that supports our local community, youth sports, and academic civic participation in veterans. The applicant did not submit either the A9 application or the A12 financial statements until June 30 of this year. Their application states that the primary use of the building is 90% for club use and events, and only 10% charitable events. Upon investigation, the Kingston Veterans Club is listed on the New Hampshire Department of State, Secretary of State's business lookup as a, quote, social and civic club, unquote. Membership to this club is only open to honorably discharged veterans. The organization was formed for the benefit of its membership. Although they perform acts of charity for the community, it does not qualify for the exemption under RSA 72:23, and then they actually cite that particular RSA in there. And then the recommendation from the assessor is, for the reasons above, we recommend denial of the exemption. So
and if I might say, that in my letter, that's exactly what I was referring to with 72:23A, that true, by law and by statute, we don't. But by the spirit of it and our actions within the community, perhaps the board could see otherwise. And that would be my recommendation from Kingston Veterans Club since 1946, being a member of your community. I am not looking for an answer right now. I know you have to delve on it, but that's, I'm just...
You have to be consistent, no matter what.
Right, we have a few of these to deal with that have come to light through our new assessor, who is doing things by the books and has brought several of similar situations to our attention. And as the chair said, whatever decision we make, I think we need to be consistent and we want to be fair. So we certainly don't want to be treating one differently than another.
No, and you're correct when you say the Vets Club. You're correct when you say the Vets Club has been an integral part of the community. There's no question. My husband's buried right behind you, so we can go get a drink every once in a while. So we value the Vets Club very much in this community. But we do have to be consistent. We had we've only overturned one decision so far, and that was for the Church in the Plains, the Kingston Improvement Historical. They met all they clicked all the boxes off very easily, so that was easily done, but nothing else has been changed. The Gideon Lodge is another organization that's appealing the decision as well.
Okay. So. Well, I certainly understand what you mean by having to be consistent across the board, which is fine, but I also put my faith in your discretion and your decision-making.
We'll do the best we can, Mr. Murphy. Okay. Thank you for coming to speak to us.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. I have nothing.
Okay.
I do not have any reports tonight.
Well, I do. It's very busy at the beginning of the month for me. So Jeff spoke about the Boston Post-Kane Award. One thing they also mentioned is the nation's 250th anniversary is next year. They don't know if anything the town is planning for some celebration, because they're just starting to think about it now, because, you know, it'll be here before you know it, so.
The nation,
Yeah, 250, yeah.
the nation, like in America.
Yes, right. So the museum is thinking about some sort of celebration and didn't know if the town was gonna plan on anything. So just planting a seed, if that's something that, because, you know, preparations should start now.
Like last year.
Just throwing it out there.
Thank you for that information.
Absolutely. The Historic District Commission, it is an agenda item about the public hearing.
Yeah.
So we'll talk more about that then. And then solid waste and recycling, we had a meeting. So Phil will get with Susan and get on the calendar for an October presentation. I think Phil's wants to do it as a public hearing. Not sure. It will be kind of where we are, the past year, what we're thinking about for the future. Deadlines for an RFP for whatever company we go with, a couple of different, I mean, there's just a lot of information that will be in the presentation. Couple of different options for the town. So it'll be a presentation to the board to determine the way forward with our trash and recycling.
But we're probably gonna need to do the RFPs for the contracts sooner. I had just come on the board when we signed the waste management contract, and that was a disaster.
We have a timeline. We do have a timeline for when everything should be done. Two of the members have reached out to several municipal waste companies, and they're saying they need a 2-year deadline or timeline. So that is not until December 31st of January 25. That's 2 years before our contract ends. They would need 2 years to, if they were awarded it, 2 years lead time. So, you know, we're really thinking June of next year we need to have an RFP out. That gives 6 months to a company. That's more than enough time. But before that, a lot of decisions need to be made on how we want to move forward. So the first piece of that would be the October presentation. And then the status of the lease. Have we heard anything, Susan? The lease, the state shed, that property, have we heard anything?
I haven't heard anything more. I reached out once more just to, you know, to see, and I haven't gotten an answer. The last we knew, they just mentioned it to us, that they would consider selling it to the town, but when I asked about, can we have more particulars about what that would mean, I haven't heard back.
Okay.
So,
Can I suggest that you send a letter on behalf of the board asking them, expressing our interest in purchasing that property, and we'd like a contact person there, the name of a contact person, so we can negotiate any details that may be required.
Okay.
I think we need to be proactive and not just sit back and wait for them to
Right.
call us.
I have the contact people, the one person especially that we usually deal with.
Right.
I'll send something to them and try to get, did you want to set up a meeting with them, or? With Phil? Okay.
We should, because I think it's important, if we're gonna continue with the collection center, whether we do or don't, still that's good land to have.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And it you know, the lease expires the end of this year. And I don't expect they would evict us at the end of the lease if a property deal didn't go through.
But if we need to purchase it, then we need to have a warrant article, and we need to have that moving
Right.
soon.
Right, but all of that occurs after the lease expires anyway? A warrant article in the town
No,
vote?
no, if the lease expires this year in 2024.
Yeah.
We need a warrant article in March of '25 to purchase the property. So we do need to have a number now and a deal in order to move forward,
No, I understand, but what I'm saying is the lease expires December 31st.
right?
March is town vote, so that's
Yeah.
3 months. So I would expect that they would just continue the lease until we figured out.
And as we want
Yes.
the details,
Yep.
we'd work out in
Yeah.
any negotiations. Yes, I
Yeah.
would agree with that. We continue leasing until we see we could.
Right.
Right, and between now and then, I mean, we should verify that they would be willing to continue
Yep.
allowing us to use it.
Yep, yep.
Either
Right,
by
right.
extension of lease or something.
Yeah, if they don't want it, we certainly should want it.
Right.
Right.
So all of that would be, I mean, that would probably, we'll have an answer before our October presentation anyway on that.
Question about that property, I don't know what has happened on it over the years, but is there any possibility that that could have contamination on it, that if we were to buy it, that we'd be responsible for it?
Well, that's a fabulous question to ask.
I mean, I don't know if there's petroleum products in the ground down there or what. So I'm just thinking from a liability point of view.
Sure.
If we were thinking of purchasing, we'd want to be careful to either have an assessment or some sort of covenant that would protect us.
Right, because we get asked that, and we certainly see that in contracts we've had to
Oh,
sign.
absolutely.
10 times over. Yeah, but that's something definitely. Okay, anything else to add?
Oh, that's all.
Okay, I didn't have much of it. The planning board is tomorrow. We did not have a meeting on the 2nd of July. However, do we have any updates on that cease and desist that was issued?
Did it get issued?
Well, she said she was,
She was gonna send it that day. But I haven't heard anything back. I've gotten no reaction or copy. I just
Did
assume
we-
it went out.
Did we get a copy of it? I would hope we did.
We had the draft, right, in that email.
Well, I would hope that we would have been copied on the
Yeah.
document, though.
Yeah,
Right.
I didn't see anything, so I'll check.
Which property is this for?
Lone Tree.
Lone Tree, yeah.
Well, let's just follow up on that and see where we stand.
Anything else on, speaking of cease and desist, anything else on the property down on 125? The one that we had to deal with, water lines, whole property?
CSI,
Yes.
the environmental.
Oh, I haven't seen anything on that. That's the one across from the old dump site.
The old
Claudia and
Reynolds,
Goss Barrel Factory.
got the parking lot out back, they've been storing all the equipment down there for the tar projects and stuff. We were gonna deal with that too, any update on that?
I haven't heard a thing about it, but I could bring it up tomorrow night.
Yeah,
Planning board.
or I could call Pedro on it too.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think somebody was, because he has the right for the health issues, he can go in there and check out, and I know we've had problems with that property, and it's right next to that barrel factory property. So, we had the problems in there before with contaminants, with, they had 30-yard dumpsters in there, they were storing asbestos material in there. So, now it's full of paving equipment.
Yeah. I still love you. I think it's going to have to go into non-public, I'm sorry to say, but just an update on the contract that we had tentatively agreed to with the 3 employees, but we need, never mind. We'll do that in non-public. Yep. And that's all I have right now. Oh, Laurie had asked to have an item about the wage matrix committee meetings minutes discussed, and I asked her to wait till the end of July when Stacy can be here to participate in any questions that we may have. And also that morning, that's a morning department head meeting, we should schedule in, anyone that wants to stay after the meeting to review the evaluations, that would be the time to do that. We'll have them right here with Paula in the town hall, so that would be at the conclusion of our regular session that morning. So I just want to get that on the schedule now before I forget again, and I apologize to you for forgetting the last time when I should have remembered, but I think it makes sense to have it on the day that we come in earlier in the day and move from there.
And do we know the date of that meeting?
That's July 29th.
July 29th.
So we normally start at 9, we could start at 8:30 if you would like, if that works. Peter?
Yep.
Yes, okay. Let's start at 8:30 that morning, all right, Susan? So that we,
And we'll, as part of that meeting or at the end of that meeting, we'll review the performance reviews.
correct,
Yeah.
of the department heads, that's
Yep.
correct. Yep, the ones that each of us had done. Okay. Let's say, yeah, let's start at 8:30. And I don't know what else may be coming up, but
And also, as part of that meeting, we're doing what was it you just said?
Oh, we're viewing,
the wage maker is going to be on the
Yeah.
committee. I mean, they would normally be there. We would have done it today had Stacy been back. So those are the only two items I know of so far for that meeting, other than the department heads, regular department heads. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the bid decision on the POET system. And that's right over here. And you should have a letter from Verdantis with the recommendation to the board. And Susan also had done a cost estimate of the potential contingencies.
Right, the base bid amount that's on the letter is only part of it. The contingencies, all they put in was per item, and we don't know how many items, so we had to kind of make a guesstimate and go across the board with the same number.
Yep.
Right.
So,
Go ahead, Glenn.
So we have, we received 3 bids. We opened them at our last meeting. The base bids were significantly different, but our consultant, Verdantis, did a review of them for us and provided us with a response, which you have the letter of in the folder. And they were able to get back to at least the one of the bids, the one that was significantly lower on the base bid, to ask some questions and get some answers, and they were satisfied to the point that that is actually their recommendation to us. And
Water
it is
tech.
the water techs. It might be worth reading the just the next to the last paragraph on their letter, which says Verdantis has concluded that the 3 bids are of comparable nature as they were presented on July 1, 2024, due to the complete nature of the bid from the water techs, while also being the lowest cost of the bids received. Verdantis recommends awarding the contract to the water techs. In addition, the water techs also has the lowest cost for PFAS analytical testing for the identified bid and contingency tasks, and provided the laboratory subcontractor information. I believe WaterTex is also the company that has been working for the town of Kingston over the last several years,
Right.
Doing the testing and so forth. So,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
look, I'll make a motion, and then we can, if we get a second on it, then we can then have further
Right.
discussion if we need to.
Right.
I'll move that based on the recommendation by our consultant Verdantis, that the point of entry treatment systems for the PFAS be awarded to the water techs as presented in their bid, and that we then need to forward that to New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services for their final review.
approval.
Yep.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, Peter. More discussion?
Susan, is there anything else we needed in the motion? Does that cover it? I wanted to make sure that we, as part of the motion, we got covered that the award is not done until it's blessed by the Department of Environmental Services.
Right. What they need from you is a letter saying what your decision is. And I send that along with a bunch of other documents that are outlined in their authorization to bid sheet.
Do they need a copy of the minutes as well?
I'll put a copy into for the vote, but it's basically a signed letter, which you have in there. You can pick which of the three and sign it.
It's in the,
They need all our estimated costs, updated estimated costs, which is what I'm working on. Proof that they were advertised, all kinds of stuff. So I'll get that out tomorrow afternoon.
I feel like I need to recuse myself because I'm one of the houses that has a system installed and the water tech services it, so I don't.
okay.
I'm conflicted, so I.
Well, best to.
Yes.
Yep, yep.
All right, I'm going to read the one that Susan had prepared, all three, depending on which one we were going to approve. And let me read to you the one that has the water text. On behalf of the Kingston Select Board, I am writing to inform you that the town of Kingston plans to award the contract for our POET system project, PRLF-37 Kingston, to the WaterTex Inc., a company based in Derry, New Hampshire. The total bid value is $99,685. Contingency items will add to this total. Please see the estimated eligible project costs attached. And that was the one that Susan handed out tonight, so that will be added on. Also attached are evidence of advertisement for bids, questions from bidders received and answered before the deadline set in the bid paperwork, a tabulation of all bids received, the full bid proposal from the WaterTex Inc., and the estimated cost for town permits. If you need more information, please reach out to our administrative assistant, Susan Ayer, at.
And that letter is addressed to the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services.
That's correct.
Right.
Ms. Moran, and to whom it may concern in Concord.
And just for the record, the base bid was $99,685, but the total, including contingencies and administrative, comes out to $265,600. Just
And that was,
to be
the
transparent about what the
contingencies.
total numbers are.
Right, the contingencies were consistent for all three bids.
Right.
And you don't have to sign that one, but you could sign those two, yeah. Yep. All righty. Any other business on that contract? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 It's unanimous, which is good, because there's three of us voting. You can come back, take your seat. We're going to go back to the charitable exemption status, and we heard from the folks at the Vets Club, and we also have received a letter from Ducks on the Pond Realty. And that too was recommended not to be changed from the denied exemption. They still have a lot of paperwork to provide in order to even come close to qualifying. Am I correct on that, from what I've read? No.
Ellie, did we receive any communication from Ducks on the Pond? We did.
Yeah, there's a letter.
Oh, it's attached to this?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. No. The next item under old business is 131 Main Street Garage. We had withheld any decision last time because I was concerned that I thought that if it was on record as of April 1st, it must be taxed. And there's obviously an RSA, which is in your packet, that clarifies that because of the limited time that it was erect, if you will, before the fire. And so they do qualify for a reduction on the garage on that property. And then it will not come off the property tax cut until next April, should they not rebuild. Okay? So I'll need a motion to grant the rebate at 131 Main Street, on the garage at 131 Main Street. A fire proration, approve the fire proration for 131 Main Street garage. In a second? Thank you. Any questions, discussion?
Is it clear what the adjustment is?
I saw it somewhere, but I can't see it now. It's on the back, isn't it?
So it says that this is from our assessor.
Assessor, right.
Addressed to you as our chair. And it says the current assessment for just the garage is $44,510. And then, so the garage was, for the time that it was
Still up.
standing
Yeah.
before the fire, was worth, for that time, was worth $6,272.68 for the days it was usable in 2024.
Correct.
So what we're saying is that we're adjusting the assessment on that building from the 44,510 down to 6,272.68.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And so the difference in the taxation would be on the two
accordingly.
months, right? Okay, does that make sense to everybody? It does. Okay. So are we ready for the vote?
Sure.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries.
Ellie, I'm confused. We skipped over, what are we doing with Ducks on the Pond Realty? What are we doing with
I
that?
thought we said we weren't going to do anything because they're in the same position. They
Okay,
need
yep, just
provide-
wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
Just wanted to
they
make
need to
sure.
provide the information for us to make any other choices,
Okay.
okay?
Yep.
Okay, next item is Town Hall employee vacations and office coverage.
Excuse me, air conditioner really gets me. That's from our department because we have at least one person who has vacation time to take and can't take it because she doesn't have backup.
Yeah,
So we wanted to know if there was any consideration for another way around that, whether we could close 1 day a week or, something.
let me go over the discussion we had with Susan, Tori, myself, and Stacy Dion. We were there to talk to Tori and Susan about the job responsibilities and a better description of an understanding of what Tori in particular does. And in that discussion, we realized she has a 1 week vacation time frame to take. But the backup would be Susan, and even that, Susan's stretched enough as it is. So what Stacy did while we were sitting there, she looked up on the Plastow website to see what they did, and they literally closed the office, the assessing office for the week, for the assessing individual to take a vacation. They do post it on the website and in the town hall. They do still accept submissions of information requests because they're, for example, Pedro might be able to back up some of that stuff to give an answer for that week. And Plaza clearly stated, we close because we do not have sufficient staff to cover. And Tori most certainly has every right to take that full week as she wants. That's our obligation to her, if nothing else. So I think that's going to be the easiest way to settle that particular situation.
So is there some tasks that will still be able to be performed during that week, and we will put that on the website, like these services are available, be patient, kind of thing?
I
Or is it
don't
just-
think so. I think you could say if you have requests or need some follow-up, to email it in. or leave a phone
That's
message.
just for assessing though, right? What about building permits?
They could
They've
still,
got Pedro.
they could still meet with Pedro during his
Right.
office hours. He'd still be there, but the window is not going
The
to
window will
necessarily be
not be open
manned.
to the public, so yes, he could be, and if the system gets loaded up, some of that may be happening online anyways.
Right.
So we don't know, when Tori is gonna take the time off and exactly when all the online permitting is gonna happen.
Right,
So that could happen next week, well, it probably won't, but it could.
right.
But as long as we're clear about where they can send some information, and we know that Pedro will probably follow up on it, but they won't be able to service the customers, the walk-in traffic on that front. That way you don't have to worry about that either, Susan.
Yeah, I can cover some, but a whole week would be a lot more than I
Right,
want
well,
to deal with.
yeah, right, I agree. You shouldn't have to, and she has every right to take that time off. So, okay, anything else on that? All righty. Board business, the policy draft on retention and disposition of non-public meeting minutes.
I think Glenn and I provided input, right? I mean, like, in Susan and you incorporated our input into this
Yeah.
copy? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, Susan asked for us to provide comments to her if we had them, and that she would incorporate them, and I did that. There were a couple of things I made comments about. And you
So
did as well.
I did as well.
You just sent it to some of the board, Susan, is that?
no, I sent it to all of you.
Went to everyone, but
Yeah.
I don't think that everyone responded necessarily.
No. Okay, well, did you want to review it some more? Did you want to take action on it? Sure. Mrs. Bakey.
Microphone.
As a member of the Records Retention Committee for the town of Kingston, I would like a copy of that policy.
You have not seen this?
No, I have not.
I sent it to the board because it was an internal select board policy for their, here. Do you want it electronically, or you can take this one?
And we are all guilty of not telling everybody everything. We are all guilty of that.
Well, I was told this was not a department head, so if that was wrong, then, well, certainly we can wait until they review it.
I think we should wait, and I'll tell you why. It's not the department heads need to weigh in on some of this stuff. Even if they don't technically have to, I think we should afford them the courtesy, because they serve in all these subcommittees. So it would be helpful, maybe even to the public members of the subcommittees, if the department heads knew what we were doing. Again, it's not I'm not criticizing anyone in particular, but I'm just as guilty of forgetting to make that follow-up call myself. So let's put it on the agenda for approval at the July 29th meeting. Okay, we have the signatures needed for the Sanborn Seminary abatement form. Remember, we changed we updated the assessment based on the agreement we had with Mr. Chinberg. That's been registered with the okay.
Yeah, you had it last time, but there was a typo, and I had to make a new copy, so it's
Correct.
basically just re-sign it.
Correct. That's this here, this is all set for signature. And the HDC, Historic District Commission, is going to have a public hearing on July 30th for the demolition permit for the Seminary Science Building and the two of the outbuildings. So that's been posted, correct, Susan?
Yes, yes.
And that will be held here at 7 o'clock?
I think so, I think I put,
7 o'clock on July 30.
right, and it will
It's
be,
just Tuesday night.
it will be recorded.
Okay.
Can I speak to that for a second?
Sure.
My opinion, I think it's important that it's not just the HDC that's present there. I think people who have been involved in the decisions along the way, a representative from the planning board, you know, I'm a select board member, obviously, but at least, you know, one other that has intimate knowledge of some of the history. We had a resident that showed up to the meeting.
Well, he'll be there.
That was,
He'll be there again.
No, I understand that. But that was just the reasoning why we went ahead with the public hearing. He was concerned with no notice of demolition occurring. So the discussion was that we'll just have a public hearing to make sure that
Yeah, I think that's,
abutters and, right,
I think it's a great idea, to be honest with you.
right.
We're never gonna, anyways.
So just making sure that, you know, everybody who has knowledge of it, so that, you know, people with the right information are there for it.
And just so you know, I did receive today a request for information about that grant, the demolition grant process.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that with Glenn to get that together for that person.
Oh, you mean under public information on the grant process?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I will do my best to be there, because I've got some history with that. Plus, I also sit on the committee that evaluates the 79E applications, which this falls under. So I would also suggest that maybe, Susan, we reach out to, excuse me, Ernie Landry, who's also on that committee, and if he's available, it might be good to have him there as well.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find some of my old notes. I've been involved from day one, because from the time that the town was looking at purchasing the property from the school district, and I'll see if I can find some of that paperwork.
Right, having the warrant articles that were disapproved for the upkeep and for approval of the sale. I know it was a school one, but, you know, all of that, just so we have all of the information readily available.
Right. Well, I'll give that a shot, but I can't guarantee I'll have copies of all that warrant articles, although maybe I'll put Mr. Ambrose, or Dr. Ambrose, to work a little bit and have him help me with some of that. But that's important for the public to attend. It's July 29th.
July 30th.
30th, 7 o'clock here at the town hall. It is 7, right? I've got the right time. Okay. All right, public comment number 2. Any public? Yeah, sure. Come on down. How you doing? Have a seat. Click the green button.
This is my first select committee
Oh,
meeting.
welcome aboard. State
Thank
your
you.
name and address. and-
Terrence O'Brien. I live at 116 Exeter Road, 2 houses down from Glen.
Okay.
I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you enough to place you.
I know, it's all good.
I know him.
All good. It's a busy time of year, but I just joined the Conservation Commission committee, and I was coming
good.
by to just introduce myself and I guess get your blessing on my appointment. I'm not sure the protocols here.
May the force be with you.
Yeah.
Appointment already.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's,
So you should be at some point seeing.
I just stopped by town hall today and
Okay.
and got sworn in.
You got sworn in? Okay.
I did.
And they couldn't have done that unless you had gotten the appointment, so that already went.
Oh, okay. Well, great.
But, you know,
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for volunteering for that.
Of course. My first public office, so to speak.
oh, that's
Yeah.
first of many, huh?
I just moved into town a couple of years ago, so just
Oh, great.
kind of looking to, I don't know, get involved and learn more about town and, yeah.
Why don't you,
Working at the election. I am pretty maxed out at my, commitments at this point. I run a business in town.
Terry,
and,
why don't you just take a couple of minutes and
Sure.
give us a little of your background? 'Cause I
Sure.
know some of it, but.
Sure, yeah. I guess my background's in agriculture. I moved to Kingston 3 years ago with my wife and now my 2 young children. Like I said, we live right next to Glen. I lease land at Bakey Bakey Farm, where I run Hungry Heart Farm, which is the name of our business. We grow vegetables and flowers. We sell some stuff there, mostly wholesale to businesses, farm stands, grocery stores, that sort of thing. So that's kind of the experience that I'm bringing to the Conservation Commission, and also just a love of, natural spaces, and I have my education background's in environmental science. So there's a lot to learn, and a lot in this town that I had no idea existed that I've learned quickly from, the few meetings that I've attended. So I'm just really excited to learn more about the town's history and all the natural resources that the town offers its residents, and hopefully I can provide some sort of, some sort of assistance or some sort of expertise there. I'm not really sure, but excited to be here and to live here and to get involved a little more. So that's my deal.
Well, thank you very much for volunteering and
course.
stepping to the plate. It's been
course.
terrific. Welcome to Kingston.
Thank you so much. I
We'll keep
appreciate
you
it.
busy, don't you worry.
Oh, geez, yeah. Well, between the two young ones and the farm and Evie on leading the charge, I've got all I can handle at this point. But I'm not saying no to the election volunteering yet. The fall is the busiest time of year for us.
But
So
there's
we'll have
an
to
election
see.
in March. We'll get you then.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps. Awesome.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Terry.
for volunteering, and
And
it's
for
nice to
coming
see
in.
some younger people coming into our communities and commissions, and
I think it's important.
It is
Yeah.
very,
It's
you have
very
no
important.
idea.
and we expect you to be raising your two young ones to be thinking about that as they come along.
Let's hope so. Yeah, let's hope so. Cool.
Thank you.
Great.
Nice
Thanks
to meet
very
you all.
much.
I'm sure I'll see you around.
Yes,
Yeah.
you will.
See you, Glenn. Yep.
Okay, and it's very nice, yeah. What's that? Oh, good. There's several purchase orders to sign. One I want to point out to you is for the police department for another cruiser. Money's to be taken from the detail fund. One of his officers, and he doesn't know at this point who will be promoted to a detective position to do more investigative work. And with the purchase of this Durango, the new office, it's a new rank, but not a new person. We'll get the chief's car, which is kind of a stealth mobile now anyways, and then he will get the new Durango once it comes in. So that's the only big expenditure, and not that you would not have known about prior to.
And I'm assuming that the detail fund has enough to cover that.
That's correct. That is correct. And he has
I'm
checked.
sure it's outlined there, but
It is, and he also checked with Paula to make sure the funds were available, so that she's already signed off on the purchase order as well. So we're good to go. Approval of minutes from July 1, public and non-public. Do I have a motion?
a motion to approve both public and non-public from July 1, 2024.
And a second? And discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The only thing I have is a legal update for you, which we would need to do in non-public. It won't take but few minutes.
I have one go back, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So if you recall, a couple months ago, the library director and myself, we were talking about getting volunteer transportation here in Kingston. And we held a couple of meetings at the library. Well, we met with a representative from Ready Rides, which is a grant-funded transportation organization, and it's very promising that they would be willing to work with Kingston. So we have some folks who had said they would volunteer drive. So Melissa and I are gonna reach back out, and so it's just baby steps, right? It was just at the very beginning of this, but it was a good meeting that we had this afternoon. That's probably why I forgot about it. So more to come, and I just wanted to get that out there.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, anything else? Then motion for non-public for a legal update? I don't know what the number is, Susan.
All right. Make a motion to go into non-public for, just the nature of it is related to is it
Legal information
legal
on a
information, and
contract.
Susan, you'll put in the correct citation of the RSA into the number.
Okay. Adam, we're closing down.
So we need a second.
In a second, Peter, thank you.
Roll call.
Roll call, Laurie? Yes. Glenn?
Yes.
Me,